Good evening. Welcome to the very first episode of The Law and You. On today's episode, we're going to be delving into what is a will. And in the current day and age we're living, wills are important because they avoid family squabbles after you've gone. But we're not going to tackle it just with hearsay and just off the top of our heads. We have an expert in the studio with us today. Tonight, we're joined by David Mumanyi of Mumanyi Gishana Advocates, who will be explaining to us what is the process of a will, how should you go about writing it, and what are the benefits of having a will. So, our very first question to David is, what is a will?
Good evening. Thank you so much. A will is a legal instrument in which the person writing, who in the legal jargon we call a testator, expresses his desire on how his affairs should be handled when he is dead. And mostly it will regard his property, the wealth that's around him, and issues that concern him. He's going to put it in the will. So a will is just a legal instrument that expresses the desire and the wish of the testator on how his affairs should be handled once he's deceased.
Okay.
Yes.
That is actually something very interesting, because I feel in this day and age, not many people are aware.
Correct.
And it depends on maybe the circles that you flow in, where you'll come across people who've written wills.
Yes.
So most of the time, when somebody passes on, the family is just left to now disseminate the properties amongst themselves.
Yes.
And many a times you find that that's when divisions start to take place. Somebody has been eyeing the car, somebody has been eyeing that certain property. So I think that then brings the importance of a will. So I think we were talking offset and we're discussing, do you tell your spouse about the will? Or do you do it in secrecy and then they find out later when you've gone?
I don't really say it's secrecy. It's just that you are trying to manage your affairs. And you know, most of the time when you try to manage your affairs, you want to be in that situation where you have proper control of your mind and thoughts and the environment that's around you. And because this is your last wish as an individual, more often than not, it is done exclusively by the person writing, who we call this testator, and then you have some witnesses, who this, as the law describes, under, because laws are managed, wills are managed under the Law of Succession Act in Kenya. And it requires that at least when you're writing your will, you do it before witnesses. So these witnesses should be people of sound mind, people who are mature. And when you talk about maturity here, we are talking about people who have a proper state of knowledge and responsibility as pertains the actions they're taking. Because wills are also solemn. I mean, when you say solemn, we mean that this is a wish of someone. So you are having a lot of responsibility around it, just to be sure that whatever the testator desires is what has actually been put. You know, it's just not appending.
Okay,
It's just not appending a signature, because part of it you actually have to read and see and be sure of what is happening, so that even as you're pending, you have knowledge. You know, more often than not, what we have in the country, when you're called to be a witness, sometimes it's just like, signature here, you just sign. Yeah. But you know, as a witness, you also have a responsibility to at least understand what is this that this person is getting themselves into, so that you're also aware. Because you may be witnessing, but you're not sure what you're actually witnessing. You're just, you can go and get someone on the road to come and witness, and it's not proper.
Yeah.
So that's why the law is very clear and expressed that it should be people who are of sound mind and who are mature. And the other thing I was saying, we prefer it's done in the presence of an advocate. Because as advocates, we owe a duty of care to our clients, and we'll be the ones to keep it in custody, and probably upon the demise of the testator, we shall share it with the family on how your last wishes were. So I believe I've answered your question, not to say that it's really in secrecy, because the husband can actually prepare his will, because he has his assets, and the wife the same. because the challenge is if you prepare it in the presence of the other, someone may start having some interesting creative ideas, and we just want to keep it within the law. Yes.
Okay. Now that that's the step you want to take to write a will, are there specific advocates for that?
Any advocate who's practicing can actually offer that service to you. Yeah, most advocates have their offices. You just walk in, and they'll be able to help you, because I know as Kenyans we have our advocates, preferred family advocates.
Yes.
So an advocate who's licensed to practice in this country is able to handle such a matter.
Would it be advisable to go to a family advocate?
I would leave that one to an individual. Yeah, because we have a free will in this country. You have a free will as a person, because you know it's like a capacity to contract. So you have a lot of choice. You have choice. You'll go. Advocates are normally found on the LSK website. You can see the status of an advocate, what they are doing, and you choose the one who you feel you're comfortable with to help you manage the affairs, because all of us, we owe a duty to the citizens of this country to protect the law and also advise them on matters pertaining to law. Yes.
I'd like to just remind the viewers that you can SMS us your questions on 0793 898 680, or you can leave us your questions or comments on our Facebook page, or you could email us. And those numbers and emails will be showing on your screen. How do you verify that a will is authentic?
Wow. Verification of a will, as I mentioned earlier, the first thing is that it was made with a proper state of mind by the testator, and then you have the witnesses, because those are the two people who will actually confirm that they were there, and so the testator write and state what he wanted to be his last wish. So more often than not, those two would be the ones who would be there to confirm the authenticity of the will. And in the cases where now it's actually done in the presence of an advocate, the advocate was the one who's actually come and confirm that this was actually done in my presence, and I saw the testator sign it, and there are also these witnesses. So that's how you actually verify. Yes.
Then in terms of amendments, sometimes maybe as you acquire property and stuff and you had already written your will, can you alter it and add those additions or subtract? Maybe you had put someone and then you decided later on, I don't think he deserves something. Can you take them off?
Yes, yes. You are free to amend your will as and when you feel suitable to do that. Because the validity of a will is valid as long as the testator is alive. So it means that as life continues, as you are able to acquire resources here and there, you can keep adding it to your will, and we do that by what is called a codicil. It's an amendment to the will, and the same way that you attest a will is the same way this codicil also has to be attested, or rather witnessed, where now you also get the witnesses to come and say, actually, yeah, he has added maybe another 5 properties, she has added another 6 investment ventures that she's expecting from this and this financial institution or blue chip company or whatever. So it has to be witnessed. So you can keep amending it. The rider to it would be just be in a proper state of mind, so that as you do this, you are aware of what you're doing. Yes. And
then you use the same witnesses or different witnesses as you alter?
You can decide to, because now if you amend one will, you can get the same pair of witnesses, because prayerfully or hopefully they are alive. Because now if they're not there, then you may have to get another set of witnesses. And that's why you may find that consistency in maybe having it done by an advocate helps to minimize
all those logistics.
all those logistical challenges that you may have. Yes.
Okay, and then once you now pass, is it the advocate that comes to now bring out the will and make everybody know, like aware of it?
Yeah, because now in the will you may appoint someone who's described as the administrator or the executor,
Okay.
who is going to oversee my last wishes.
Okay.
And you may decide that you may be the advocate, because you have seen where families where once maybe the testator has passed on, the advocate will be called, and he'll call a family meeting and he'll tell them this is what the deceased wanted to be done, and he'll outline it. So there are some who may appoint pastors to be the executors of their will. There's some who may appoint different individuals, and so it is how the testator desires his affairs to be managed. Yeah. So whoever is given the opportunity to be the administrator is the one who will maybe call the meeting a family meeting and disclose the last wishes of the deceased.
Okay. And then now once it's been disclosed, you often find people disputing and contesting the will. What is the process? Will things still be divided, or what happens?
Once a
to
will
that?
is contested, then we have challenges, because now it cannot be executed.
Okay.
Yeah, because by contesting a will, the first thing someone will do is actually run to court. Because contesting by word of mouth, sadly, may not give you or grant you the mileage that you are maybe hoping. Maybe you're actually a dependent that was actually left out and you're feeling really aggrieved. So that's why I find there's a lot of people who actually run, dependents, they'll actually run to court and challenge. And on that case, what I can say may challenge, maybe issues of challenging a will would be you're asking about the soundness of mind of the testator, because those are circumstances that will actually raise. And here you're looking at when the testator was writing this, did he have a proper state of mind? Was he sure of what is happening? Because part of the qualifications of writing a will is that you should be in charge of your affairs. You should be having a proper state of mind. You're aware that I'm having property X in county Z, and that one I'm giving it to so and so. I'm having this other property in county Y, and I'm giving it to person D. So you need to be sure of where the property is and who you're actually giving it to, or where your investment is and who you're giving it to. That's how we call soundness of mind. So you can challenge, and maybe someone may say the person in writing, he was in a proper state of mind. And here you'll be looking at maybe the elderly, they are sick, maybe they're terminally ill, they are on medication that sometimes they lapse in and out of consciousness. So that can be one way of challenging it. The second way, you'd actually say that it was under duress. Maybe the family members conspired and they knew either the testator is getting some gain somewhere, so can you please ensure that we are in your will? So if you can actually prove that, because the issue is he who alleges must prove. So if you say that this was done under duress, you have to prove, you have to demonstrate. So those are part of the things that can actually make a will be challenged. Yeah. And the third one is that maybe the person who was taking care of the deceased, or maybe was constantly with the deceased, has gotten a very big share. Yeah, because those are some of the things that can actually raise challenges on the validity of a will.
And then, in order for it to be like administrated, while the contestation is happening, is there like a period where it needs to be done before they can now come and say, okay, no, this is not valid?
You know, now once now you subject yourselves to the court process, now you're at the process of the court. You're at the mercy of the court. And now we just follow now the judicial process of getting heard, depending on the availability of dates, and the whole court process now takes precedence up to when the matter is heard and determined.
Okay. I think we had touched a bit on this next one, but we would want to know, what is the importance of having a will? Because in many cases, when there is no will, that is when family squabbles take place, and he said, she said, and many a times the court is not the first place they think of going to. You think I'm going to handle this myself.
Yes.
Then you come, you accuse, you dispute, fights happen, maybe you took a panga, and then the process then becomes even more messy. So what would you say is the importance solely?
Writing a will is prudent because a prudent man ensures that he has left his affairs well. So it is good because it shows an element of proactiveness in your life, because we are all living a life where where anything can happen at any point. So we are required to keep working at it. So you need to ensure that you have it, because so that in any eventuality, at least there's a record of what you desire to do. Yeah. So actually, that is the greatest desire, rather greatest importance of having a will, because you just help to have peace in your family members. Yes.
And then, would you be limited to just when you're married to write a will, or as a single person, or is there an age to write a will?
As long as you're in a capacity to contract. Right now, our age of majority in Kenya is 18 years. So as long as you have capacity to contract, you're of a sound mind, you can write. You can actually write. You can actually write a will and actually state, this is what I have as a young person. As you transition from being a single person to a married man, getting to be a father and all that, you can keep transiting and amending it as and when opportunities come your way. Yeah, so anyone can actually write a will. And I mean, writing a will does not really mean that you're dying. You know, we're in Africa, and the other challenge that we have is that the customary connotation is that if you start writing a will, you are actually calling a curse on yourself. And I believe as Christians, the other thing is that we are propagating preparedness in what we are doing. So it's an element of being organized. Yeah, it's an element of being organized, yeah.
Those are actually some interesting points you've just pointed out. I was also thinking, how do you guys store the will? Just in case maybe it's in a hard file and then there's a fire.
All advocates, we are required to ensure that we exercise prudence on how we manage our client affairs, and different advocates have their abilities on how to ensure that any instrument that comes into their hand is safely kept. And so I can assure the viewers that it will be safe. It'll be safe. At least I know for a minimum, it's not going to just be put in a filing cabinet somewhere. Yeah, because it's an important instrument, and I know all advocates exercise due consideration on any instrument, because we owe a duty of confidentiality to all our clients. So I'd not want to expound more on that, because I know different advocates have different abilities, but at least at a minimum, we are required to demonstrate that you are able to take care of client affairs.
Okay. So lastly now, David, before we go, what would your final parting words be to the viewers out there, so that they're aware of the processes that a will entails?
All right. I'd say to the viewers that writing a will does not mean condemnation for you. It just shows that you are being prudent in the management of your affairs. Secondly, you are helping your family to ensure that they live peaceably and in a harmonious manner on your demise, because that is the greatest gift you can leave to them. For you to write any will, get in touch with an advocate. They'll be able to walk you through the process. If you have any questions, I believe you can raise them and they'll be answered. We are here to serve the citizens of this country.
Thank you so much for joining us, David.
Yes.
Viewers, also remember, if you have any further questions, send us your emails, talk to us on our Facebook, and also on our SMS line that will be showing on your screen. So join us next time for The Law and You. Good night.